Randy, if there's somebody people need to go to for advice, it's you as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you are, the entrepreneur's entrepreneur. You've got a track record and a history of really learning how to take something and grow it and turn it into income. You're not only for yourself as an entrepreneur, but you've also have at times employed a lot of people. So you understand people who have worked for paychecks or that are employed, and you also understand how to get self-employed, if you will, or how to get self-reliant. So first of all, I just want to say thanks so much for doing this interview.
Well, thanks, Patrick, man. It's great to be with you, and always good to see you. Hope you and Lori are doing well.
We're doing well, and thank you, and likewise for you and your family. So maybe can we just start out, Randy, just with your own story and kind of like, I'd love to give some context as far as what your experience is so that it adds more flavor to the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, my own story is, it's really funny. You know, when you wanted me to do this, I think about, man, what could I share with people at this time? Because this is, we had a huge company in 2008 and 9 and 10 and went through that whole rebirth and regrowth. But this is a little different. I think this is a little different than then. You know, it's a little bit different circumstances. So I think we need to be aware of that. But honestly, my background is I grew up on a cattle ranch. My dad was a high school football coach. I had one of those stories where I actually had a father that went on every camp out with me and taught me how to fly fish. And that for me was just awesome to be able to have a father like that. But he also kicked my butt. And he also taught me that it's so important to be accountable and to be self-reliant. And some of the things he always taught me was, he'd always say, Randy, like the last thing he taught me when I went to college was, he said, Randy, that if you don't have your own goals, somebody else is going to use you for theirs. And just remember, when you hear somebody say that the cavalry's coming, don't depend on it, but fight like heck for it. So that's a little bit of my background. Just growing up, I was always instilled with, I can do this on my own. I can be self-reliant, and that I've got to kind of be my own boss. And I remember my first job was doing concrete and construction, and we would build potato cellars, and we would build, foundations and footings for huge buildings. And I remember, I love Dave the best. He was the general manager, and he's actually went to the other side now. But I remember thinking, like, dude, I can't work for somebody else. I remember thinking, like, dude, I can't pour another like big, huge concrete thing anymore. I remember the day when he kind of got all fired up and everything, and I was like, you know what? I've got to kind of take my own destiny in my own hands. And so ever since that day when I was 21 years old, I've never ever worked for anybody else.
Well, I love the quote. Either you're going to have your own goals or you're going to be used for somebody else's. And that's really the transition now, is that when you're working for somebody else, you basically were working toward whatever goals they set out. And now, the reframe, and tell me your thoughts is, but the reframe in the mindset side is say, okay, I have to have my own goals now. I can't literally just work towards somebody else's. Yeah.
And one of the things that, and I coach a lot of CEOs, and then, Brendan and I are partners on Brendan Burchard, which I know that you know as well. And, we're partners on High Performance Institute. And we spent about $13 million, and he did an amazing research with the University of Pennsylvania and others, but we've done the most extensive research on habits. The number one habit is actually just that: seek clarity. And I can't think of a better time right now than you need to seek clarity for what you want to be able to do with your life. Whether you are an employee, you need to say, dude, this is the kind of employee I want to be, and this is the way I want people to treat me. And I want to be innovative and ideative, but you have to have kind of your own goals to do that. 2, if you've lost your job, or if you are worried about it, or if you have serious anxiety about it and not knowing what you're going to do, one of the things that's been most successful in my life is every single day seeking clarity on what's most effective that day. But I journal a lot, but I actually have my personal life strategy on a one page. And I always say that if you don't have your strategy on one page, you don't have a strategy. So if you have anxiety right now about your job or you've lost it, dude, take a quick, deep breath and make a game plan for your life. I think that's one of the biggest things that I could give to everybody here is like, you need to take time to seek clarity and set some really powerful goals and just put it on one page. This may be the best time of your life ever. This may be a time where it's a complete rebirth and a complete cleansing, and that you may not have that job anymore, but guess what? With that, other opportunities will open up if you'll be really clear about what you want.
I love that. I have always found power in the blank page, right? Here's a clean sheet of paper, here's a pen, and now let me see what comes out. And it's interesting, as you've talked about journaling, because a lot of people look at that maybe as a little bit woo or a little bit whimsical. But I believe that journaling has extraordinary power to start pulling out of you possibility and imagination. And I think creativity and imagination is what's necessary right now in large part. So I'd like to stick a little bit more on the mindset before we maybe get into more strategic or tactical things. Yeah. So because you're really, really good on the mindset. You're good on all of it, actually, but the mindset stuff, I think you have great clarity on. So let's say that we're dealing with a clean sheet of paper as far as a human being saying, they've never really done this sort of like, journaling and getting mindset, or maybe having a power hour in the morning and affirmations and so on and so forth. They're basically saying, I just had a good job for the last 5 or 10 years or more, steady paycheck, I perform fairly well, circumstances just completely derailed me, and I've never, I don't even know how to start with myself at this point. What advice would you have for them?
It's funny because Patrick, and we have to battle it every day. I'm not kidding. Everyone does. I was one of those that I don't know, when God made me, he may have put an extra drop of optimism in my batch, but I'm always usually on a good up. But I actually had to train myself that way. Like my family does. Like we have depression in our family. We have, I've got a daughter that suffers, from anxiety in a big way. And so I'll tell you what my trick is. And I help people get into, there's two different mindsets, and we have to be aware of them. There's a possibility mindset and there's a probability mindset. So whenever I'm doing strategy, I ensure that I'm in possibility mindset, thinking about what is possible. And the probability mindset is thinking, what are all the risks? What could happen? What could be, when you let fear, that's that fear base, which is important. I'm not kidding. It's like, you have to have both to have a very successful business and life, but you have to be able to know how to manage that. Because if you're always just positive and go, you may be going in a complete wrong direction. You have to do risk mitigation. But the possibility mindset is, you got to be like, dude, am I thinking that this is doable? And am I going to push myself? Am I going to stretch myself? And I'm taking this whole COVID, situation that we're in as an optimistic opportunity, and thinking about how can we innovate and ideate the way that we do things? How can I be productive? How can I think about things that have never been done in ways that they've ever been done? So I actually check myself. I always ask myself, what mindset am I in? Am I in possibility or am I in probability? So I think that as you're going through your life, man, optimism is actually a balance between the positive and the negative. And so that's right in that center when you think about it. And I think a lot of people, that'll help you with your energy. It'll help you with your excitement. Nobody likes to be around a grumpy person or somebody that's always down. You don't even want to pick up their phone call, but you got to talk to talk to Uncle. You got to talk to Uncle Vinny. So when you're in possibility mindset, be careful with who you hang around, and be careful because you can catch a thought, just like you can catch a cold. You can catch a bad thought, and that'll just spiral you right down into that probability mindset. So I try to keep my energy high by staying in possibility mindset as much as possible, because a lot of times we don't have a time management issue, we have an energy issue.
Agreed. And maybe we should talk about that a little bit. It's one of the things that over time I concluded, just running my own companies, has been energy management is more important than time management. When my energy's right, it's amazing what I can get done in a short span of time. And when my energy isn't right, I don't care how much time I allocate, I'm not productive. So can you maybe talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, because you do, especially at this time when you have fear, fatigue, and frustration, you have very low energy. And fear is the biggest thing that puts you in a state of low energy. And the best way that I know how to get out of that state is, again, going back to, do I have a very clear plan? And am I living true to who I am and true to myself? If you get into that productivity phase, then your energy is going to be high. Your fulfillment's going to be high. It may be super freaking hard. This may be the hardest time of your life over the next 6 months. This may cause you to go so deep within your soul and your mind and your heart. But if it's hard, then you have the right energy and you feel good about where you're going. This may be the most productive time of your life. And I attribute that to a lot, like I ran the Kona half Ironman last year, and honestly, it sucked when I was doing it. But when I got done, I was like, dude, I feel like I could do anything, And so that, for me, I'm not the greatest athlete like you, Patrick. I mean, you're an amazing physical specimen, but I'm not. I'm an Irish stump jumping, crazy Idaho potato man. But I'll tell you that even though it's super hard, as long as you have real clarity on what you want to do and real depth in your heart and in your mind, that's clear, then you can have the kind of energy you need to have to get through this.
Thanks so much for being here and watching that video. And can I ask you to please subscribe to our channel so you can find out when we're posting new content. You'll be alerted right away when we do. To share this with people you think might benefit from the information, and certainly it helps us if you like the video. So if you like what you just saw, go ahead and hit that like button. And again, thank you so much for being here with me right now.